Beers with Bands podcast with your host, Michael Torres. I have like a small list of questions. I figure we'll kind of do like a little bit of a time lapse of like everything you guys have out, because I started at the beginning and just kind of went through everything today just to get the full feel as to what you guys are about. And then we can just talk about some other fun stuff that you got going on too.
Cool. I'm
Sweet.
down. Let's do it. I got my beer ready.
Hell yeah. Do you wanna crack it with me here?
I will.
All right. In 3, 2, 1, go. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Beers with Bands. This week, I'm sitting down with Justin from Idle Threat. How's it going?
Dude, I'm great. Just got off of work and this is my weekend. So kicking it off right with you and a nice beer. So
well, I'm happy that I could start your weekend the right way and get you going.
the best way. I just, it feels like talking to a friend, and we got some good drinks and we're gonna hang out and just talk about music. So
hell yeah, dude. That's the best part of my week. Granted, like I try and do as much of these as possible, so it makes my week even better.
Yeah, dude, that's so sick. I mean, great idea for a podcast. So kudos to you.
Thanks, dude. For like I mentioned, you're from Idle Threat. For people that aren't aware, Idle Threat is a rock band, alt rock band from Nashville, good old Tennessee. I mean, we have some fun stuff to talk about because you guys have 3 releases out, but like it changes drastically between all of that. But before we dive too far into that, Justin, what do you do in Idle Threat?
So I play drums. I wish I could say something else that was like clever, that whatever, but I just hit stuff, man. That is what I do.
That's fair. And then obviously we are missing a few people. I feel like we should give them a shout out as to who they are and what they do in Idle Threat as well.
Yeah, so my bandmates, there's like a core group of us that it's me and 2 other guys named Ernie and Zeke. Ernie is our screaming vocalist and guitar player, and then Zeke is our singer and bass player. And then we have 2 other guys that kind of come in and out all the time, but DJ is a guitarist, and then Nathan is our other guitarist. So you could catch us as a 3-piece, you could catch us as a 5-piece, you never really know. So we like to keep everybody on their toes.
Okay. Yeah, because I noticed that when I was going through stuff, like a lot of the profile pictures, it was just the 3 of you. And then I looked at like I think the chain reaction photos, there was 5 of you, and then the Furnace Fest set, there was 5, and then there was like 4 for, I think it was like the Audio Tree Fest that you guys did or something like that.
Yeah.
So I was like, dude, who's all here and what's going on? So that's good to know.
Yeah. It's I personally, my favorite version of Idle Threat is when we play as a 5-piece, but like I said, there's times where we're like, okay, we're just going to do this show as a 3-piece. Like we've done an entire month on a tour as a 3-piece before. That was wild. Like I said, it's just you kind of never really know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Keeps people on their toes. So
what do you like more about the aspect of doing it as a 5-piece for those sets?
I think personally it's just because I love Nathan and DJ like so much. I make the joke all the time that they're my favorite bandmates, even though they're not like in my band, quote unquote. But yeah, they're just great dudes, both really good musicians. But I think when it comes to like our sounds, like and you'll probably hear me say this a couple times, but I love live music more than anything else. So like when we play with 5 members instead of 3, it's just much more of a full, like solid, spacier sound instead of what we can just give as a 3-piece. So for me, it just checks all the boxes of what I want Idle Threat to sound like.
Okay.
So
yeah, that makes sense. Now, like I mentioned kind of before we started rolling here, I did go back and kind of listen to everything you guys have out, because as right now you have 2 EPs and a full length. You have Grown Tired, which came out in 2016. Nothing Broken is for Good, which came out in 2020, and then Blurred Visions, which came out in 2021. For just like it was like a year and like 3 months, because it was like October of 2021. I saw um, both Blurred Visions and Nothing Broken both came out on Tooth and Nail Records. So also shout out to Tooth and Nail, because they put out killer stuff and you guys are part of it. Just adds to that wheelhouse. But Grown Tired, if people are starting with that, they might be a little they might be not preparing themselves for the rest, because Grown Tired, you guys are like very like kind of like metalcore, almost like very I had it in my head all day as to who it reminded me of, and now I'm blanking on it so hard.
It happens.
Oh, 100th. Like it reminded me a lot of like
Yeah.
early 100th and stuff, which was really sick. And like, but then you kind of transition when it comes to like Nothing Broken and kind of do more like this alt rock, like vibey sound. Like what was the thought process was behind like switching lanes and doing that?
So it's funny. I can take this a couple different ways, but so just for like the discography's sake, we actually had an EP before Grown Tired as well that you like can't find anymore. We kind of tried to cover that up. But during the writing process and like when we were touring on the first EP and Grown Tired, we were just trying to figure out a lot of things like, how to be a band and like what songs we wanted to write and where we wanted to take all of those songs and like the how we wanted to take live shows and that kind of thing. So our band is made up of well, I'll just say the five of us. So like the five of us all have like similarities in our music tastes, but we're also wired very differently when it comes to just like even minute details with music. So, like if I'm just like making generic statements like I'm like the hardcore metalcore kid of the group, and then like Ernie really likes indie rock and stuff like that. And Nathan is like, he likes butt rock and like, old Christcore music, and DJ's into like, prog and like mathcore. And Zeke's like a pop punk kid. He listens to a lot of worship, that kind of thing. So it's just this big melting pot of influences and just our music tastes. So over the years, we've tried to, you know, find what we wanted our sound to be. And I still feel like it's a process. So like the first EP that I mentioned that we've covered up as much as we can, it's like there's like pop punk songs on it, and then like like a metalcore song, and then like the Grown Tired stuff, it's like kind of metalcore post hardcore, and then once you get into Nothing Is Broken for Good, it's like almost more like alt rock pop pucky stuff, and then like you get into Blurred Visions, which like I feel like we finally found the culmination of what we wanted our sound to be, and it's mostly like post hardcore and like almost post rocky in places. So um we're getting there. I don't know what the second LP is going to sound like. We might get a little heavier in places, we might get a little softer in places, we might speed it up, slow it down, whatever. But it's just, I feel like it's a cliche that all musicians would say is like, as you put out records and kind of evolve as a band, you're just trying to find what you want to write. And we do just write what we want to write. Like, I'm going to get behind a drum set and play like a caveman. That might not change, but like, we're still going to be putting out tunes that, if they're not fun, like I don't want to play it. So like, we're just going to keep that ball rolling.
Right. Well, like I've said before on episodes, every album is basically like a timestamp as to where you're at in your life, kind of bouncing off like what you're saying. And like, it's okay that not every band's out like discography is completely the same. Like kind of going back to 100th, like they started out very like metalcore, and now they're like kind of got that shoegaze kind of feel going on with like their later stuff, and that's what they want to do. That's what they feel is like in their veins at this point, and you can't hate on any of that. I always think it's interesting when bands kind of do make that switch, especially like with 100th making like basically like 180-degree switch. Like that. I enjoyed it, but no, like I'm loving everything you guys are doing. Like, and Blurred Vision, for people that haven't listened to it, shows a great aspect as to what you guys can pull off, because obviously, like we mentioned, like the earlier EP is very like heavier, more metalcore, but you still have great use of like the post hardcore, like harsher vocals in this new stuff. And then you kind of get to like Arrogant Love and Simon, and it changes completely than what you're ready for, because Simon kind of just really brings it down to a whole nother level, um, and just like adds a whole nother dynamic to what you guys can do. And I loved that it was in there, because I was like, wait, is this, am I still on the same record right now? Like, this is amazing.
It's so funny because like on the record, I absolutely love Simon. I think it's some of Zeke's like best lyrical work, but like playing it live for me is such a bummer because like we'll come out of like a more upbeat song and then go into this like slow like almost like turtle pace, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just for me, I just want to hit stuff and move around and be like in your face and all that kind of thing. And it's just it's not always supposed to be like that. So sometimes being dynamic is, it's there to be your bread and butter. And I think that is something that we've done pretty well. I don't really know if we're quite like, masterful with it yet, but like I said, it's something that we're evolving and we're playing around with what we want to play around with. And, maybe we hit the nail on the head next time. But it is cool that, we're able to play the heavy shows, we're able to play the softer shows, like, stick us anywhere and we'll give you something to remember, hopefully. So
Right.
um
Yeah, because I
yeah.
mean, like we mentioned, you played Furnace Fest this year, well, in 2022, and Furnace Fest most of the time is more like heavier bands, and you guys fit in perfectly on that bill, and then you can, like you're saying, fit in on any style of fest or bill. Um, you just got to decide which set list you want to do, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, it was Furnace was so cool too because like I don't know, there's just so much that I could get into there, but it's such a great melting pot of bands, but also that community is like incredibly like passionate and like supporting of just all people and artists within that like weekend. Um, and I literally bought my tickets to go this year because you probably saw where they announced the Plea for Purging. I don't know if you listened to them, but that was one of my favorite bands growing up. They're from Nashville, hometown heroes of mine. I saw them probably 30 times growing up, but they announced that they're getting back together for Furnace Fest, and that is the quickest I have ever spent $400 in my life.
With you
um,
guys playing last year, was that your first time playing Furnace Fest?
yeah, it was. So I remember I was working at a warehouse at the time when I got that email, and I was just like, part of my thought process was, I'm quitting this job, and two, this is the coolest thing that we've ever been offered. Because like so many of my favorite bands played, and like we had a lot of friends that were on that fest too. So it's just literally the perfect weekend just to hang out, like listen to music, play a show, and then, spend time just like, I don't know, like soaking all of that in. It's just the most incredible feeling. So, like, if you're listening to this at all, you should absolutely go to First Fest because it's probably the best fest right now. Like, I know it's a very bold statement, but I feel that in my bones. So,
Yeah, I had some friends that went not in 2022 but went in 2021, and it just looked like a killer time. And then especially like when Stay Lost was on, mutual homies of both of ours, we talked about it, and like it just sounds like a great time. I've never been to like a big fest like that. Like it's always like been on my list, but Furnace Fest is definitely on top of that list for me to check out.
dude, it was so sick. Like, first of all, you have to try to make it out this year. Hopefully we could link up and like share a beer in person together. But yeah, like the Stay Lost guys played right before us, so it's just nice to have some other like homies like there. Like we both played on the main stage, which is like insane. So it just, like I said, I can't really put into words how amazing it is. Like it's just all, everybody feels like your friend, and then you're also seeing these like amazing artists. So um yeah, dude, you got to make it out.
I'll see what I can do. If I make it down for sure, we're having one to many beers in person.
My man. So what are you
uh
sipping on again? What do you have? Do you have a
I got PBRs for me today.
ah
You know,
old tried and true?
yeah, all tried and true. What do you got on your end?
So I have it's called I think it's pronounced the Lessie, but it is a Belgian triple from my favorite brewery in Nashville. It's called Living Waters Brewing. It's insanely good, but
Okay,
that's what I'm sipping on. Most of the time
nice.
it's like super cheap beer. Like I love PBR. I love like Miller Lite, Miller High Life. But I don't know, I was feeling a little bougie today, so I had to go pick one of these up from a friend's house. So I actually got two, but we'll see if we get into both.
All right. Uh, Now this might sound like me being hopefully not too ignorant because I'm not from Nashville, but you guys are obviously like this mix of like hard rock and like post hardcore. And Nashville, as a lot of people come to know, is like a big like country style town. Like
Yeah.
what's the like this scene? Is it like more underground, like, or are we just not hearing about it as much because country is just everywhere in Nashville?
So Nashville as a whole um is mostly like country and pop music. That is like absolutely true. But there is a very nice like underground scene here. So like it's weird. It just kind of like looking at it from like I said, the whole, there's so much music here because there's studios on every corner. They're in houses, they're in, big buildings, and like, we have all of the like PROs here, and like, Sony and Warner and all these like big booking agents and all that taking up all the space. But at the same time, like there's still an underground scene, and like you can kind of like spin around and throw a dart somewhere and you're finding live music. And I know that not every city is like that, but I don't know. Nashville's like on the pro side of it, it's so nice that music is everywhere, that you can just kind of pop into a bar and there's live music, or you can go to a local show and there's three or four new bands that you're going to find that you might love. But the con is that like it feels so much more competitive because let's say Idle Threat has a show on a Friday night at a place called the End. um, Three of our friends are also playing across the street at Exit Inn, and then down the road at East Room there's another band that we're friends with, they're playing, and then there's 70 other shows going on. So like it gets a little hectic, but it is, overall it's very, very nice. So there's a lot of bands in the area that um you know that are like killing it. They're bigger than we are. It's just that the underground scene kind of gets, I don't want to say like squashed out, but it kind of gets put a little to the wayside just because all these other massive artists, and the plethora of artists that are around is just so much that you kind of get pushed around. But overall it's a good place to be.
Yeah. Um, yeah, because that's something I was wondering because like obviously like I always hear like there's obviously we all hear there's country everywhere, but that there's just so many artists there, and I've always heard, yeah, like you're mentioning, there's always shows going on every night, every bar pretty much, but it I always was curious because I've had a few friends or people that I've talked to like play Nashville, but I never know how like the scenes are anywhere besides where I'm living half the time. So it's always interesting to see how that dynamic breaks down.
Yeah, it's crazy. And like, like I said, there's pros and cons, but I I will say that my favorite shows that I've played are in places that you would never expect. So like just off the top of my head, the we went on tour with Norma Jean last summer, and We ended up playing in Lincoln, Nebraska, and truthfully, going into it, I was like, "Dude, we're playing Lincoln, Nebraska. Like, I know it's a fairly big city, but like, I don't know what to expect. I've never been there." But I was like, "This show's gonna be small, like smaller than the other ones on the tour." And we roll up to this venue, and it's tiny. Like, I was like, "Dude, us and Norma Jean and these two local bands are supposed to play here tonight. It's gonna be so rowdy." And that's one of my favorite shows I've ever played because they packed like 400 people into this tiny room and they went nuts. So I was like, all right, Lincoln, Nebraska, like y'all got something in the water down here because all these kids like rolled out and were, it was just one of the best nights of my life. Like unreal show. And then like I've played uh house shows and stuff in the middle of nowhere, like West Virginia and then like Illinois and stuff like that. And people just roll out and like it's a party every single time. So like, if someone asked me like, hey, would you rather play like in, a major city like Nashville or Louisville or whatever, or would you rather play like outside of a city in like a beat up shitty bar, but we can get you, this many people? I'm taking those B list, C list cities every single time
Oh yeah.
because it's a blast.
Yeah, there's something about playing areas that don't get a lot of like shows to go through, like, or so like, yeah, you want to look for or places that most shows don't go to, or towns that like actually give a shit about music. Like Lincoln, I was there probably like 2 years ago visiting friends, and they do like this giant kind of like bar crawl mix with like just every venue has locals playing for 3 days, and it's a
That's
giant
so
downtown
sick.
festival. And that was amazing to check out. But then there was a time that back when my buddies used to play in a band and I used to TM for them, we played like in middle of nowhere, like South Dakota. And we pull up, we're like, this is gonna be like a shitty ass show. Like we're waiting for all like these old people to leave the VFW hall. And next thing we know, like at least 50 to 100 kids actually like packed out for this show and just like went crazy because no one really plays there, because like everyone just drives through on their way to like the East Coast or the West Coast or whatever. So they actually like gave a shit for a no name band that they've never fucking heard of.
That's so sick. Best types of shows, man. Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
just unreal. Oh man, it makes me want to get back out on the road so bad. Like I think I don't know when this will air or anything, but we've got like one show lined up, and it's later this month, and I'm just like really itching to get back out on the road and play some shows because this past summer we were literally all over the states. So I I'm getting to where I'm like super antsy with it. I'm like I just want to get back out and tour and play some shows, meet some people uh for the podcast, drink some beers with some fans, just that's the life, man. That's really all I want to do. I'm a simple guy.
Right. Now, are you guys kind of waiting until you have the next LP kind of wrapped up, or what's the plan?
So I'm gonna not really like we are writing a new record. Um, but it's mostly just like personal stuff. So like, we're all in uh, like certain spots in our lives to where like we kind of need to pump the brakes with the band stuff just for a little bit before we get back into it. And I know I'm being super vague, but I have to. Uh,
Totally
so
fine.
on my end, like I am actually in a graduate program. So I'm like, working through a master's degree and just working. All the while, we're writing a new record, and then, we'll be putting that out later this year. I can go ahead and say that. So that's a lot to look forward to. But in the meantime, like I feel like I'm just kind of sitting on my hands. I'm like, oh man, like I want to go out and do this, but I don't know like if we can. So in the meantime, I've just been, hitting up like, booking agents and stuff like that. And I'm like, hey, if you have an offer we can't refuse, like I'm right here. So let's chat about it. But nothing too crazy yet, just navigating through a nice little down period. So
Yeah, I mean it's not bad to have one of those every once in a while, and like it's totally understandable to like take the time and kind of like focus on what you guys need to do in your own lives, because life can get crazy, and if you don't let if you aren't able to get ahead of it, uh you're gonna like pay for it later, where it's just gonna be like, what the fuck did I just do? um
Yep.
but it's, I mean, yeah, like good time to just kind of sit here and, like you're saying, talk to all these booking agents, kind of get stuff in the works for possible things in the future. And hopefully one of these tours will bring you guys up to the Twin Cities, and we'll have some beers up here.
Yeah. I that's one of the only states that we haven't played is Minnesota. So you are
Yeah,
talking about Minnesota, right?
yes, I am.
Okay. Just yeah, just making sure.
Yeah, because I saw on the Norma Jean tour, you guys actually played. So I'm originally from Iowa, and I grew up outside of like Iowa City. And you guys played my favorite venue in Iowa at Gabe's, which I'm sure that would have been a sick show to catch.
That also was like literally when I brought up the Lincoln show, that's the other one that I thought of. Was that Iowa show was insane. And then like Colorado Springs also was nuts. So yeah, good times. I miss those dudes like so much. I talked to Corey the other day and I was just like, hey, when can we tour with y'all again? Because I'm missing this. Like Norma Jean's one of those bands that like you could watch every night the rest of your life and still not be satisfied. They're so good.
Fuck, dude, that's amazing. So I mean, we talked kind of the records. Is there anything I missed on Blurred Visions that you want like the people to know about? Like I can't stress this enough to people that are listening. Like you have to check out this record. It's got something for everybody, and like you'll be surprised when you get to Simon, because it'll throw you off guard in the best way. But is there anything that you want to add to this record that I might not have said?
Uh, if I'm making a plug for our own record, I would say like I really love the A side of this record. And there is something for everybody, so just check it out. The B side's pretty cool too, but like I think it definitely has, and everybody says this about the record or single or whatever that they most recently put out, but like this is the best work that we have. So like the songs Driftwood and Safety in the Shade and Damage Control. I just, I love playing them. Like, and we've played a couple of the songs off the record live, and it's always fun. But it's just this is kind of us like coming into our own. Like hopefully in LP2 we're gonna take what worked and what we feel like we want to keep going with, and pull that into our sophomore release and just kind of run with that. So if you've never listened to us before, go check out the record. You can hit my DMs and tell me you love it, or you can tell me to go fuck myself, or whatever you want to do. But like I'm all ears. Like just give it a chance. That's all I got. So that's my plug for Blurred Visions.
Yeah, like everyone that's listening, definitely go check it out. I mean, Tooth and Nail, like I mentioned, is putting out great artists, and I mean you guys are fit really great on that bill. Had fellow Tooth and Nail homies, Salt Creek on. I think they were on last year. And I mean you guys
Yeah.
fit so well.
Uh, I love the Salt Creek guys. Well, I keep bringing up that Lincoln show, but we stayed with Nathan from Salt Creek that night, and it was just so much fun. Like he's such a goofball, but he's such a good friend and awesome musician. And yeah, shout out to the Salt Creek guys. I miss them. Hopefully we'll be playing some shows together. Who knows? But
That'd be a sick lineup. Like who
yeah.
else? Like if you guys, if you and Salt Creek are playing together, who else would you want on that bill?
Um, Oof. So they've been kind of like leaning into like the dad rock stuff. So they've been playing with like did you see where they played with Jelly Roll and Shinedown?
Yeah, I did.
So I think the perfect tour for us in Salt Creek, and this is me being a little like selfish, I guess, but my favorite like butt rock band would be like current butt rock band would be like Breaking Benjamin. So like if Idle Threat, Salt Creek, and Breaking Benjamin could go on tour together, I would be ecstatic. But if I could put like a defunct band to take us and Salt Creek on tour, I would want it to be Creed. I love
Okay,
Creed.
those are two solid lineups for a tour.
uh, or maybe just smash them together. It'd be like Breaking Benjamin, Creed, us, and Salt Creek. You know, it'd be a good time. Be a
That
good
gets
time.
announced. I'm spending $400 right now.
uh,
One thing I kind of noticed, kind of jumping over to you guys' like merch, which we'll kind of plug a little bit later, but you guys have two hot sauces out, which I love. You find it very rarely when bands have like a hot sauce out for their merch, and you guys have like two different flavors out, which is I mean, it's a solid move. Everyone loves hot sauce. You can't go wrong with it. Like, uh, like how did that come about? Like, did you guys decide to do hot sauce, or did they reach out to you? I know you collabed with the company.
so a little bit of both on that end, but oh God, I was gonna say no pun intended, but I guess so. It's our hottest selling like item. Um, but our friend Luke in North Carolina runs a little like I guess sauce company now called Wild Child Creative Works, and he he and I were just talking like after a show, and he's like, "Hey, what if I did this for you guys?" And I was like, "Bro, like I will send you a recipe of like something I want to try. Let's make it happen." So he started doing like this like these hot sauces for bands and friends and all this stuff that's like you know vegan, gluten friendly, like you know uh, no preservatives, like all that kind of stuff. It's like super clean, just like organic like ingredients. Um, and I was like, "Hey, I want to do like a peach pineapple jalapeno. Like let's make this happen. I feel like it would be really good." And I love hot sauce and food. I'm sure we'll talk about that later. But I was just like, "Hey, make this happen. Like if it's good, then I want to sell it." And ended up just like putting our trust in and good old Papa Luke, and he made us two different sauces. And Safety in the Sauce, named after our song Safety in the Shade, is the peach pineapple jalapeno. And it is like a very fruit forward like hot sauce that I've been like I use it at home. I've been putting it on like breakfast burritos and stuff, and it's incredible. Um, and then the other one we have, it's called No Turning Back, which is after our song No Turning Back, and it's just like a straightforward habanero. And it's really good as well. So it's just funny because like people will come up to the merch table and be like looking for like a CD or vinyl or like a shirt or hat or whatever. And they're like, "You guys have hot sauce?" They're like, "Yeah." So then, I don't try to like persuade anybody, but I'm like, "Hey, if you like hot sauce, you should at least try it, like
Right.
you get to keep the bottle, it's got some like artwork and stuff on it. Like who else is doing this right now?" And then like three-fourths of the time somebody's walking away with a bottle of hot sauce. So it's sick, like
It's a great move. No one else is really doing it. I think in the time that I've been doing the podcast, I think I've only seen it done like one, maybe two other times. So I mean, your episode like 120. So like, I mean, that's saying something. Out of 120 episodes, I've only seen it three times.
it's so funny because after we toured with Emery last year, like I'm not kidding. It was like 2 or 3 weeks after we got home from the first leg of the tour with them, they announced their new line of hot sauces, and I was like, "You guys just stole our idea." I mean, we don't own hot sauce, but like, come on,
Right.
Um, gosh, but yeah, it's good stuff. We'll probably like play around with some more in the future. Um, like I keep joking with the guys that we've turned into a grocery store because we recently partnered with like a coffee company called Z Beans, and they did a driftwood dark roast. So like we have coffee, we have hot sauce. Like my guess is we should get into baked goods and stuff like that too, because like they sell better than our shirts and stuff. So like why even sell music? Why sell apparel? We should just sell food, you know?
Right. It was like instead of visiting the merch stand, just like we have a bake sale going on over there. Just get you all your pies and shit real quick.
Yeah, Ernie, the vocalist and guitarist in my band, he used to work at a cafe. So we've joked about doing a bake sale for years, and I was like, we should do it. It would be good for like money, like to raise for like a van or new merch or whatever. But like I would feel kind of slighted if the baked goods sold better than like our music or like, shirts or whatever.
I mean, if desperate times come up, maybe give it a shot. But until then,
Dude, I'm all
just
ears, Like if the going gets tough, you got to do what you got to do.
yeah,
So
right. Jeez. Uh, well, yeah, everyone that's listening, go get your hot sauces. Like I said, we'll plug the merch store here in a little bit, but definitely go get your hot sauces. Look, maybe shoot them a DM as to what else you want to see food wise on the merch store or edible wise. I don't know what the right term is, but well, now we're kind of in the later half of these episodes. Obviously, we didn't really have like a structure for this one because we're just kind of doing it how we do. But later half of these episodes, we usually tell fun stories from your time of music, whether it's shows, tours, time recording. As I normally say, they could be anything horrendous to tremendous or any adjective in between. Uh, and then I have a couple questions that I'll pepper in every once in a while. But I mean, this is just think about like the stories that you always tell that you and your friends always reminisce about.
Oh man. I I have so many. Like we've been touring for like 7 plus years, so just the amount of garbage that has filled my brain. Uh like I joke all the time that I'm after all of this is said and done, like I want to write a book because like it almost feels like I don't want to say like living a double life, but like dude, and for you and everybody else listening, like I used to be a pre-K teacher and now I'm like a kids counselor and like, I'm in school for psychology and all this stuff, like very professional, very like clean cut, whatever. And then I'm also like a band guy. So here I am like traveling the world and playing drums and, doing all this, you know, not normal stuff, quote unquote. But like, dude, some of the funniest things are just so simple. Like I don't even know where to start, like some of the places that I've slept on tours are just horrifying. Like um there was one time that we played a show in the Birmingham area where our TM at the time had to get so drunk that he could fall asleep on a coffee table, and there was just like, this like I'm pretty sure they were homeless. We found out later the house that we played in, people were like squatting in, so that's a thing. But like all night we are like sleeping on the floor and stuff, and like you could hear people having sex in the room next to us. So we're just like, this is the first night of tour. This is awful. Um, and like, dude, I like I said, I've got so many stories on just like places we've slept. Um, but also like great stories too. So like I don't know, like last year we played the House of Blues in San Diego. That was the first time I've ever been to the West Coast. That show was like well over 1,000 people. It's the most people we've ever played to. Like it just like, you know, the with the good comes the bad and the bad
Right.
comes the good. So like, where do I begin? Like what kind of story do you want to hear? Like you want a prompt or something? Because I can
Well,
deliver. So
yeah. Let's start out with like what do you think in all your time playing has been like your favorite or best show that you guys have done?
okay, so my favorite and I think our best show that we've ever played um, was in November of 2019, I believe. Um, we opened for Gideon and Norma Jean and the Devil Wears Prada at a venue in Nashville called Exit In. It was a sold out show. There were about 550, 600 people there. And those are three of my favorite bands that have ever existed. Um, and like that's the night that like, we really hit it off with Norma Jean, and like Corey and I were like in our green room, like just, shooting the shit and catching, well, I almost said catching up, but just like getting to know each other. And he asked us about Tooth and Nail, and I was like, yeah, we're signing, and like all this stuff. And like it just, from the show to the camaraderie that went with it, it just was the greatest night of my life, like still. So that's my favorite show we've ever played. I think we killed it that night. Like, we had a bunch of people coming up to us after, and they're like, "Y'all are from here? We had no idea." So it's like, "Hey, yeah, we're in the area. Like, follow us. Like, keep up to date with everything. We'll be around." Um, but I'll say a close second. Um, I know I keep bringing up that Lincoln show, so I'm gonna move away from that. But a close second would be that Colorado Springs show. It was the first night that we were on tour with Norma Jean last year, and it was a sold out show at a place called the Black Sheep, I believe. And just, it's the first time that we've been like super, like, I don't want to say pampered, but like we walk into the venue, people helped us load in, we sound checked. We're hanging out with the Norma Jean guys because they're like friends of ours and stuff. And we go down, we have our own green room, like it's stocked full of like beer and like snacks and all this stuff. And like we're not used to that. We've done DIY tours for the past, 6 years at this time. So like this is all very new to us. So like being able to just kind of go into a venue and have all these people show up, and like be able to go up to a bar, and the guy, bartender up there being like, "Hey, like 6 sec tonight, bro. Like, you want some Jameson?" Like, hell yeah, I want some Jameson. Like, thanks for watching us play. um, but yeah, that, like, the local bands killed it that night, and like our band, like people went nuts, and we've never played in Colorado Springs. We've never even played in Colorado. And like I don't know, it's just something that like is seared into my brain now. Like I'll never forget that. Um, so those are my favorite shows we've ever played, like
Oh,
by far, by far.
yeah, that's that's amazing for that first time meeting Norma Jean. Colorado Springs, I have some homies that live out there. Black Sheep is a great venue. Uh, and like, yeah, I feel like that area is also like really great with like music in general. Like they always seem to roll out for like whatever's going on. But a lot of good times have been spent in Colorado Springs. Now, obviously, you guys have been touring for 6-7 years. What are some like go-to food spots that you guys hit when you guys are out, like the must hit?
So I'm gonna try not to laugh at myself here when I say this, but I'm like the foodie in our band. So like like when I said earlier that I'm a simple guy, like the big three in my life are like music, food, and just like beer. Like that's like it. I mean, I love whiskey and stuff too, but like I just want to like eat good food, listen to good music, and have a nice beer. Like that's really all I can ask for. So on the road, like I'm always the guy that's like, "Hey, like I saw this on Triple D," or like, I found this on the internet, or like, "Hey, I follow this barbecue person that like they recommended this place," or like, "Dude, I'm telling you, I got a list in the notes in my phone of restaurants that I want to go to in like every city that we might be playing in." Whenever we announce a tour, that's like one of the first things I do is look up restaurants. Like it's how I roll. So there's been so many times where I've been like, "All right, y'all don't want to go somewhere? I'm gonna walk somewhere." Like I've Ubered to places before, like away from venues, just to like go try local cuisine and stuff like that. But um, man, like my favorite places that we've been, like we went to a place in, I wish I remembered. We went to a place in San Diego that did like fish tacos, and I got fish tacos and like cervezas, and then like some like guacamole and chips or something. It was the best tacos I've had in my life. Um, trying to think of like other places we've been. There's just so many. Like the best pizza I've ever had was off of a street cart in Brooklyn the first time that we played there. Um, like we've done like Kansas City. There's like a couple restaurants there that I absolutely loved, like L and L and or is it L and L? I don't remember. Oh my God, that's sad. I don't remember what it's called. Not L and L, but Oklahoma Joe's and Arthur Bryant's are like insanely good barbecue places, and I'm a huge barbecue guy, so those are definitely up there. I had a place like in LA that was called like it was like Zayo's Bow and Pho or something, and like it was the best pho I've ever had. Like yeah, my favorite part of touring, other than playing the music, is eating the food. So you can catch me just at all the spots, just gorging myself.
Yeah, like the times that we would hit like the East Coast, obviously we would hit like cookouts because we don't have those in the Midwest. The
Yeah,
the last big tour we did, we called it the excuse to get In-N-Out Burger. So we just basically drove to California and just played shows on the way. That same tour though, we stayed at this dude's house in like Santa Monica, and the next morning he was like, "Hey, I know a breakfast spot. We should hit it up before you guys leave town." And it was this Hawaiian place, and it was fucking amazing. And then it turned out we looked on the wall, and there was Guy Fieri's stamp of approval from when he was there on Triple D.
nice. Oh my
But yeah,
gosh.
I think about that place at least once a month.
Dude, okay, so literally I had to look this up. It's not L and L, it's LC's barbecue. I can't believe I said L and L, but that's because we have the L and L market in Nashville. So I'm trying to save face here, but LC's barbecue in Kansas City was incredible. Um, and dude, like yeah, it's so funny how like sometimes you have meals like that and you just remember them the rest of your life, you know?
Oh yeah.
Like we were on tour in 2017. We played like this little festival in um like I think it was Indiana. Yeah, it was Indiana. It was like in the South Bend area. And we like found this little me and another guy that he's like a chef. Me and him are like really close friends now. Shout out to my friend Doug from the band Stand. Uh but he was filling in for the band Camden at the time, and we were on tour together, and he woke me up one morning and was like, "Hey, there's this like Mexican breakfast diner. We gotta go." And I was like, "Dude, I'm sold." So me and the members of Camden and the members of a band called Mess in Kansas City, we went to this Mexican breakfast diner called Chico's in South Bend, Indiana, and it was one of the best breakfasts I've ever had in my life. Um, yeah, it's funny. Like sometimes I remember the meals better than the shows.
Yeah. Like I remember the first time I had canes. We were in like Virginia. Uh yeah, we were like we were supposed to play a show in like Baltimore, I think, and then it was just a shitty ass show. It's like we were told it was gonna be a house show, and we're like, fuck yeah. We pulled up, it was just the homeowner and his friend. And we were like, cool. So then we kind of did our thing and then like went and stayed at a friend's house. And then the next day before we left, someone was like, "Do we need to get canes?" And half of us had never had canes before. It was great. It was life changing.
I it's so funny because like I love canes just from traveling with family and stuff like that, but I didn't have it until I was like I think I was like 21, 22. Um but the first person that introduced it to me was a guy named Jordan that he plays in the band Gaffer, or he is the band Gaffer Project, but he TMs for Idle Threat. So like he's with us a lot of times selling merch, driving us around, all that stuff. He's an absolute angel of a person, but he's the one that showed me canes and it changed my life. So now when we're rolling out like West and stuff like that in the Midwest, all that, um, you know, my bandmates are like super into In-N-Out Burger, and like I think it's okay. Like that's just my opinion, whatever. Come at me if you want to, but they'll go to In-N-Out and I'll be like, I'm going to Cane's. Like there's a Cane's across the street. I'm just give me some chicken, you know?
Right.
Um, load me up.
Like
And
living
I
where I lived in Iowa, like there was the nearest Canes when I lived there was like Chicago, or like I'd have to, when I was visiting up here in the Twin Cities, I'd have to get it up here. And then like as was moving to the Twin Cities, they opened a Canes like maybe 40 minutes from like where my parents live. But now I got one that's 15 minutes away from where I live in Minneapolis, so
yeah.
it works out.
Yeah, it works out. I think that Middle Tennessee is getting a cane soon, but I'm not sure. I think it's just a rumor right now, but we just got our first Whataburger, so it's like I think everything is like slowly moving this way.
Yeah.
Um, at least fingers crossed for me, because like I don't know. I'm tired of eating at places like even on the run, like Burger King or McDonald's or Wendy's or whatever. I'd rather go to the nicer spots. Give me a Whataburger. Give me In-N-Out. Um, but we finally got our first cookout like 5 years ago or something
Ugh,
like that. So that
I
was
haven't had
nice.
cookout in like probably at this point like 5 years, and I'm just like itching to get back to a cookout in general.
Do you know where the closest one is to you?
No, I'd have to look it up. I think the only ones we've ever went to were like in Georgia, so I just assume that they're all like southeast and I like nowhere near me. But I mean, if you guys got one in like Nashville, that's at least closer than there.
Yeah, I hope it's coming your way, man. But I mean, if you're ever in the area, it's on me. It's a whole what, $5-6 for a whole meal.
Right. Because like for people that haven't toured, like that's especially if when you're doing like DIY style touring and you're just like living off what you bring with, the goals are to like find cheap meals but also that taste good. uh like you can only have McDonald's so many days before you're just like, dude, I need to not do this to myself anymore.
Dude, our band eats so much Wendy's. Like I'm I'm not kidding. I think that there was a tour that we were on. We had Wendy's every day for at least a week. Um, and I love Wendy's, man. I love Wendy's, but not every single day for a week. I can't do that. Like
Yeah,
I need some variety. At least at Cookout, you can be like, yo, I want a hot dog with a side of a burger and like, some chili, and then give me a shake. And like, there's all this other stuff
yeah,
that
you
you
can
can
mix and
get.
match everything.
Yeah, at Wendy's, it's just like, okay, a burger and fries, maybe some nugs. Like that's all I'm getting. And I'm not knocking Wendy's at all. I hope nobody gets it twisted. I love Wendy's. I would die for Wendy's, but just in this situation, just give me a little something else.
Dude, I feel you. Now when you guys are also on the road, you know spending this many years doing DIY touring, did you guys do any like fun like road games while you were on tour? Like me and my homies, we would play odds all the time.
Yeah.
Like what was your guys' game of choice?
So I don't know if this is like it. I don't know if it's necessarily a game, but one of my favorite things that we do in the van is, and this has started since like our first tour. Anytime someone has fruit, something that can like decompose, we roll our window down and like try to hit like signs and stuff on the interstate with it. And I don't think anybody has been successful so far. And we've been touring for, like 6 or 7 years. So it's just that's probably my favorite like niche game that we have. Um, I know that when we're touring with our TM Jordan, he's big into like D&D and stuff. So he'll like do like little D&D campaigns with my
Hmm.
bandmates, and like that's always I never play, but it's fun to like listen to them play and stuff. Um,
We had one year some of the guys brought their Yu-Gi-Oh cards with, so we'd be just like hauling ass to like the next show, and they'd be like in the third row of seats just like battling it out.
I love that, dude. We like I always bring my Switch, and like we we've done some like games and stuff. We've done a lot of the like Jackbox games. Have you ever done those? Like the
I don't think so.
like Trivia Murder Party and Quiplash and all that kind of stuff. We've played a lot of those on my Switch, like with a hotspot and stuff. Um, you know, but yeah, those are probably all the games we have. But we're big on like watching movies and stuff together. So like, I know that when we recorded Blurred Visions, every uh every Friday night that we were in the studio, we had Disney movie night. So like we would get together and watch a Disney movie. No idea how that started, but it's wholesome and I loved it. So it was so much fun. And then every single night before we went to bed, we watched an episode of King of the Hill. Um, and then we also played a lot of those Jackbox games, but mostly the Trivia Murder Party. So yeah, we try to have fun when we can, like
Yeah.
it's not all business. So
One other game that I somehow completely forgot that we ever played, and I'm just now remembering it. Is we would use we I don't know if one of the guys just made this up or they found it out somewhere else, but we started playing Hey Cow. Basically, anytime you're driving down a road, whether it's interstate or highway, and you see any animal in a field, whether it's a cow, horse, goat, whatever, you roll down your window, yell "Hey cow" or insert animal name, and then however many of those specific animals turn and look at you, that's a point.
we're gonna start doing that. I'm writing that down right now. That's so funny. Hey cow.
It's so dumb but so entertaining.
We've also just like gotten like, you do the dumb stuff when you're in the middle of nowhere driving to the next show. Like, we'll do the thing where it's like we'll try to get people to wave at us or like, uh, I don't know. We've tried to have people dance with us before. I don't know. It's just you know how it is. Like
Yeah,
you just try to have fun when you're on the road. Like that's part of the fun of touring is it's a road trip. Like
yeah.
you're trying to just keep yourself from like wanting to pull your hair out.
There was one day we had just switched drivers, so I was getting into like I had built bunks in like the back of our van, and I was like crawling back in there to like sleep for like a couple hours or whatever. And our biggest thing always was like, hey, make sure like the van was our guitar player's parents' van, so we were always like, make sure like we don't hit anything, like drive safe. It's only two of us that would switch off on driving, and we start going, and someone from the front's like, hey Michael, I'm gonna door check this fucking like cone, and I'm like, don't fucking do that, like it's why. And then next thing I hear, we're going through road construction, and he just opens the door and just door checks like one of the big fat road cones for no fucking reason. And it was still as dumb as it was, and like as much as I told him not to do it, it was still the funniest fucking thing just for him to actually do it.
Incredible.
Okay. So for the final question, I don't know if you got one. You probably have one for this. What would be, oh, you might have already answered it too with that other one. What's the sketchiest place you've ever played at?
I kind of already answered it before that Birmingham show, but I can think of a couple others. So that Birmingham show, we literally played in a house that people were squatting in. So I can't put into words how disgusting and sketchy it was. So we'll leave that alone. Then I kind of mentioned like playing it in the middle of nowhere of Southern Illinois. We played at a place called the Cesspool. And it literally was a basement that had been flooded the night before, and they had tried to get all the water out. They packed like a couple hundred people into that room, and it was just very, very humid.
Oh my
So
god.
that was rough. And then they had like there were people like wrestling for money upstairs after the show. That was a whole thing. Um, but the sketchiest show outside of those two, man, we've had some doozies. Um, okay, one of my favorite tour stories. Um, is we played in Springfield, Missouri. And if any of these people listen to this, I'm gonna go ahead and apologize, but I doubt it. So, um, when we played in Springfield, Missouri in 2016, I think, um, we roll up to this venue that, um, if y'all can picture it, it's like an abandoned Cracker Barrel. Okay, if you've ever been to a Cracker Barrel, so I had to pee super bad. So like my bandmates, we all take turns kind of like going into the venue and being like, yo, like we're here, like where do we load in? Who do we talk to? That kind of stuff. So at the time I was like, I just have to pee, I'll go in, I'll do it, whatever. So I run into this venue and it is like empty. It's just like an old general store looking whatever. And it's completely empty. And then there's two rooms off to the left, and then like a kitchen area in the very back. And then there's like a beanbag to the right of me, right inside the door, and then like a couple couches, and then everything else is empty. So no one's in the room. And I'm like, hey, is anyone here? Whatever, blah, 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 blah. And like no one's there. So I'm like, I'm just gonna like go find a bathroom. And as I walk towards what I think is a hallway, this girl comes out of this room, out of one of those two doors, and she's like, hey, like, what are you doing? And I was like, hey, like, I'm playing in one of the bands tonight. I just like really have to pee. Like, where's your bathroom? And she was like, oh, okay, like it's like down that way, like just go in, whatever. So I like run to this bathroom and I go, empty the tank, and then I come back, and like I'm skipping over so many like details just for, you know, being brief here, but I come back to this girl. I'm like, hey, like, I'm in this band again, like we're parked right outside. Like, when can we bring stuff in, sound check, whatever? And she's just like, oh, like just you should do whatever you want. Like, you should, blah 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 blah. So like it's just super vague, and she was just very bouncy and like kind of out of it. And it took me a minute to be like, okay, I think she's on something. And she changed her name like two or three times. So like she introduced herself as like Angelica or something. And then she was like, yeah, like my name's Brandy. And then like later when we were talking, she was like, yeah, my name is like, Taylor or something like that. And I was like, okay, this girl's lying to me. So this is like red flag, like hindsight 2020. Like that was like red flag like 47, you know? Um, so I leave, go back to my bandmates. Um, that was like the middle of like a month-long tour, and like half of our tour party is like sick. Like they probably had the flu or something. And we load in, and basically there's this massive snowstorm coming. And just to preface, like all of this is going to sound made up, but I swear to God it happened. Like this was the craziest night of my life. Um, and I'm just going to hit the high points. Like y'all don't even get the small details, but um we were like, hey, like, we're gonna play the show, right? And they're like, oh, we canceled it because of all the snow. And we're like, what the heck? Like, can we at least get paid for it? Like what do we do? And they're like, oh, you can still play, but we're just gonna have like a party. Like we invited all these people out to like, basically like a rave. And they were like, we're just gonna have fun, like y'all can like crash here, like we'll just, do whatever. And at the time, we were just kind of like, all right, whatever, we're just gonna play the show. So
Right.
our band plays, um, and as we're playing, people are coming in. So that's pretty cool. Like we're like, oh, there's people in here. There's like 40, 50 people, whatever. But people are doing drugs and like drinking and stuff like crazy, which like no judgment, do your thing. But like I'm noticing while we're playing that like people are doing all this, and I was like, this is gonna turn into like a house party instead of a show. So like we are like moving our stuff off, and the second that I move my drums, this kid comes up. I shouldn't say kid, he was a grown man. He was like 18, 19, maybe like young college kid. He comes up to me and he's just like staring like into my soul. He was very weird. um and he was like, hey, like, I really liked your drumming, like blah blah blah. It was like super wholesome, and I was like, dude, thank you, like I'm just a dude, like, like let's go get a beer and like hang out, like, trying to have a normal conversation. And while he's talking to me, he like mid sentence cuts off whatever he was saying and he's like staring at this girl. And this girl like walks over to us and like whispers in his ear and he walks off. So I'm like, what the heck? And they go into this like room and shut the door or whatever. And I'm like, all right, whatever. I'm just gonna like finish packing my drums up. So I pack all my stuff up. And at this time, like stuff's just getting like weird around us. Um, so like I was like, hey guys, after we're done with this show, let's drive somewhere. Let's find a hotel, like, get ready for tomorrow and all this stuff. So I'm like trying to rally the troops. And we were on tour with Gaffer Project at the time. So like they started playing and this kid, I'm outside because I'm like so weirded out by the place. And this I know I keep saying kid, I shouldn't, but this college guy comes back out and he's like got the biggest smile on his face and like all these people are like, kind of dogging him and stuff and they're like, look who lost his virginity and all this stuff. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And very long story short, this girl had taken him back into this room and slept with him. And then like they came back out and he was like, yeah, I slept with this girl, whatever. And I'm like, oh, like he got some at this party. Like, that happens. That's normal, whatever. I'm going to brush that off. But I later come to find out that they were like basically like prostituting there because they were like, oh yeah, for like, $50 you can go get a BJ and that. And I'm like, I need to get out of here right now. Like it was the most uncomfortable place I've ever been in. And like I said, people were just like fucked up too. They were so drunk or they were on drugs and like Gaffer Project's playing. And I'm like trying to get my bandmates to be like, hey, we need to leave because like I don't want to be here if the cops show up or something. Um, and like one of my bandmates, this is my favorite part of the story, but one of my bandmates was so sick. Like Zeke definitely had the flu and it was like really bad. He was like on NyQuil and like passed out on this couch. And I know I mentioned the beanbag next to him that was in the floor, but the same girl that slept with this like kid, or sorry, this college guy that was like there with us, she like was with this dude on this beanbag right next to Zeke. And then I look over and she's like, like trying to be G-rated, but she's giving him a hand job. And I was like, I'm leaving the room. Like I can't do it. So I'm like trying to wake Zeke up because I'm like, bro, like there's someone next to you like getting some right now. Like you need to like move, So like he never noticed either. So like we still joke about it to this day. I was like, bro, you were so sick, like you didn't even notice that this dude was getting jerked off next to you. Like so after that show, we pack up, everybody's stuff's in the van. Me, Ernie, and Christian from Gaffer Project. We like loaded everyone's stuff into this van and we're like, we have to get out of here. But of course, Jordan was like, no, they're offering us a place to stay. Like, it's free. Let's just crash here tonight. And I was like, under no circumstances am I staying here. So we were like trying to leave and we like finally get everybody into the van. We're about to leave and all this stuff. And like this girl comes back up to me and she's like, hey, like before you leave, like, do you want like, do you need anything like water, some like gas money, a blowjob, some food, like all this stuff. And I was like, whoa, 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 what? And she's like, I think you heard me. And I was like, I'm gonna leave. So I just like turned around and left. I was like, I can't deal with this, And I remember like getting in the van that night. I like texted my girlfriend at the time and my family. I was like, hey, like, love y'all. This has been the weirdest night of my life. Can't wait to tell y'all everything. Like, hopefully make it to the next show, whatever. But dude, it was so weird. And I know like it's crazy because like telling that story as many times as I told it, I can never fully like put into words or like let people picture how awkward it was because it was insane. And like I know I'm trying to save some time here, but like there's so many details that people just don't know about that. I'm like, oh my God, like this was the craziest night of my life.
Jeez.
Yeah,
I
sorry for the long-winded story, but there you
no,
go.
you're good. I'm totally fine with the long-winded story. That is just so crazy that all of that, like, I can't even put into words like how weird and like how weird that would have been. Like you experienced it, I didn't, but like fucking yeah, not cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and then to make matters worse, that night we finally got away. We drove like a little bit. I don't remember where we were playing the next night, but we finally got to a hotel. It's like 2, 3 in the morning. We finally get in, like go to sleep, and in the middle of the night, it's like 5 a.m. Uh, the drummer from the other band we were on tour with, he like woke me up and was like, "Hey, I'm going to the ER. I have this like, like something's wrong with like my throat." And I was like, what?" And he like I don't even remember what it was, but basically he had like some sort of infection that had like swelled overnight and like he had to go to the ER. So it's like, can we not just like put this crazy night to bed? Like I just want to sleep at this point. Like we have a show tomorrow. Just why can't we cap this off? You know? And he was okay. So like it's obviously not about me or whatever, but it was just kind of like this night couldn't get any crazier. Oh wait, one of the guys is going to the ER. So
Jeez,
yeah. So that if you need a tour story, there you go.
that 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 sums up everything. Like that's I feel like that's a great story to end on.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's anything else that could top that story for this
I
night.
don't think there is either, man.
Yeah, like even anything I've experienced, like one time we played this like place where it was Columbus, Ohio. We played in this rundown looking building. It was a sick DIY show, like all around. And they were like, "Oh yeah, you guys can stay here if you want." And they showed us the green room. One, there was ants fucking everywhere, and it was a shitty ass like futon. But we're in the like the first floor of like this up like old rundown like apartment looking building, and we had
Yeah.
noticed people coming in and out the entire time, and we're like, I mean, thanks for this the offer to stay, but like, what's with all the people that are just like continuously going upstairs and coming down? And they were like, oh, so the building's paid off, so people can just basically rent a room for like $20, and they split it between the like 5 people, and they just go up there and do crack. And we're like, yeah, we're definitely not staying in this building at all.
What is the name of that venue? Because I'm pretty sure I've played there.
I don't remember what they called
Oh
it, but
my
it
gosh.
but there was like a parking ramp or some other building like outside. It was just all
Yep.
gravel, like for parking lot.
Yep.
Uh, okay, we might have, yeah, it might be the same spot because
You
Columbus, Ohio,
you
there can't be that many places.
yep. You're gonna get a message from me at like 2 a.m. this morning. I'm gonna remember when I'm trying to sleep and I'm gonna be like, oh my God, I have to text Michael. Like like I remember what it's called, but I am 90% sure I'm thinking of the same place.
Okay, fuck, I can't remember who ran it or who booked that show for us, but I'll have to do some digging and see if I can remember as well. But yeah, that place was like super sketch. And like the show went great, but everything else about it, we were just like, fuck this. And that's when I came to find out that Columbus, Ohio, on the interstates, has some of the nicest rest stops that you can stay at because the showers were free.
Dude, the Midwest does have like the Loves and oh my God, what are the big ones? Like Loves and Flying J and all them, they do have some really nice bathrooms.
Yeah. Oh man. But yeah, we'll have to do some digging and see if we can remember the name of that place. But Justin, I mean, I want to give you one big thank you for taking the time out of your Thursday or slash, technically your Friday at this point, to sit down with me and have a few beers and just talk about like, Idle Threat and everything else, and just, talk about food like weren't planning on doing, but we both love food. You can't go wrong with
Dude,
it.
I will talk more about food than anything else, I promise you. But yeah, dude, this has been a blast. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Everyone that's listening, make sure to go listen to Blurred Visions, because like we've been saying, it's super great. It's got something for everyone. Um, if anyone's looking for Idle Threat merch, music, or just Idle Threat in general, where can they find it?
So we're on all social media. We do have a big cartel site if people want to buy merch. But hopefully we'll be around soon. Just kind of keep your eyes on us. I'll plug like once again our social media. Like we're on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff, but also just like my personal Twitter and Instagram and all that. Like we're around. So like if you want to chat, let's hang out, you know? So um we'll keep you up to date.
Oh yeah. Well, depending on where you found this episode, whether it's the Facebook, the Twitters, or the Instagram, make sure you hit those hyperlinks. Go follow Idle Threat on all their social medias and stay up to date with everything they have going on. You know, be ready for LP2 sometime later in 2023. I did want to mention too, I saw the fucking variants that you guys came up with for the record for Blurred Visions for the vinyl. They looked so amazing, and I clicked the link and they were sold out, which I'm happy to you guys that it's sold out, but I was like, fuck, that'd be a sick one to hang on to. But you know, like I said, I love everything you guys got going on. I can't wait to hear what this new stuff sounds like, because I'm sure it's gonna be fucking killer.
Yeah, man. I'm really looking forward to stuff. So, you know, we'll see what we can do. But yeah. Thanks for all the love. You know, like I said, this has been a blast. So, keep doing your thing. This is a sick idea. So, yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, I appreciate that. And like I normally say on these episodes, if you or anyone you know should be on an episode of Beers with Bands, feel free to reach out. DM me on any of the socials. Email me on it. Emails also on all the socials, or you know, maybe be like a homie, like the dudes that Stay Lost, and they're like, "Yo, our friends in Idle Threat should be on this. They want to be on this. Hit them up." And you know, I'll hit you up like I did with Justin. We'll have some beers. We'll talk some music. But other than that, one last big thank you to Justin for stopping by. And I'll catch everyone on the next episode. See ya.
Sick. See ya.